Okay. It looks like we are live. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Jason Levine, Principal Worldwide Evangelist for Adobe. And for the next 15-20 minutes or so, I'm going to be talking to you about a very common topic that I get asked about quite a bit, slow motion and time remapping directly inside of Premiere Pro. And while this is something which, if you work a lot in motion graphics or VFX, you might be very familiar with performing or doing in After Effects, of course you have native capabilities directly in Premiere Pro to perform this operation as well. And there's also quite a few options, little tips and tricks that you should know to get better slow motion, particularly if your content was not shot at a high frame rate. So, first and foremost, if you want great looking slow-mo, you got to shoot it at higher frame rates. Now, there are lots of plugins and other things that will allow you to get better slow motion results, but ultimately, it really depends on the frame rate. But I'm going to show you kind of a cross-section of these, and you'll get the idea. It's just a couple of quick hellos. Thank you again for joining us on Twitter, Periscope, Facebook, and YouTube. I can see we've got Desiree. We've got Siga Music. Oh, hey, how you doing? Berat from Turkey. All right, lots of people in today. Todd, hey, what's up? Glenn Locke, Johan from Stockholm, Stan Arthur, what's happening? Gabriel, Christian, Lloyd, Dave Grind, nice to see you from Toronto. And let's just quickly go over to YouTube and see what we've got going on here. Evil from Turkey, how are you? Chris Hahn. Ramping, yes, I will show ramping as well. So we will cover that in just a couple of minutes. Okay. All right. Well, I'll let more people file in, but in the essence of just kind of keeping this short and sweet and getting right to it, let's go ahead and cut over to my desktop here and get started. All right. So cross-section of content here today. First clip is a piece shot in South Africa a couple years ago on a safari I was doing for Nikon. And you can see we've got a buffalo sitting in the bush here. Okay, so we want to do some slow-mo on this. Well, first let's take a look at the clip as it is. Oh, in fact, you know what? And I always seem to lose I love having my loop playback button here. Just going to go stick this in here. And also, I seldom ever use lift and extract. I don't know how those buttons got back in there. Curious. Primer Pro. Yes, nice. Okay, so let's go ahead and play this back. So here's the original clip. All right, got a buffalo in the bush here, kind of just flapping its ears. You can also see it is smiling. Smiley buffalo. And we want to slow this down. Now, key thing to keep in mind here, first of all, so this was shot with a DSLR quite a few years ago. So despite that, really good glass, the shot looks nice. But the key thing to recall here is that if we take a look at this actual footage, it was shot at 23976, so 24 frames effectively. Not the most ideal for slow motion. Again, if you want great looking, creamy, smooth slow-mo, the kind of stuff that you see in film, boxing, hitting, sweat dripping, you see it in sports commercials and soft drink commercials. How's it going, David Presenter? 60 frame, 120 frame, 240 frames per second. This is where you want to be, depending upon what it is you want to do. This was shot 24, so we're going to take a look at what the initial results are and how we can perhaps improve upon that. So here I've taken my 1080 content, stuck it in a timeline. You have two ways that you can do this. You can do it right on the clip inside the timeline, or you can perform some of the operations here in the effects controls. Generally, if I'm doing this here in Premiere, I usually do it right on the clip, and there's a reason for that, because you're going to get a nice sort of visual indicator of how you are affecting the duration of the clip based on how you adjust speed, all right? So how you do it on the clip, let me show you right here. So let's just wind back to the beginning, and down on the clip itself, in the timeline, you'll see that you have this little effects badge, which you probably noticed before. Now, anyone who's done this before, again, this is just repeating for you. If you right-click or control-click on that effects badge, however, this is how you can access now the envelopes to keyframe motion on the clip. Now, if you've got your clip kind of filling all the space there in the panel, that's really ideal. One operation at a time is probably enough. Again, I generally don't do more than an opacity ramp here and maybe a time remapping ramp as well. So let's go down to time remapping. Currently, it's always set to opacity. That's what that little line going to the top center of the clip is there. Let's go to time remapping speed. All right. And that effectively turns that envelope, that line on the clip, into your time remapping graph effectively, where you can set any number of keyframes along that line and then adjust or affect the speed or ramp the speed in and out faster or slower, okay? So if we simply wanted to do just a global slowdown, so we don't want it to kind of ramp into a speed change, we just want to take this 24 frame content and make it look like it was slowed down. With time remapping enabled, we can simply grab the envelope here, and I can just drag it down. Now, hold on, let me zoom up a little more so you can see this. All right. So as I grab the envelope, you'll see it's giving me this little percentage of how it is affecting the speed of the clip. All right. So let's go to approximately, let's say 50%. All right. So half speed. Now, when I let go, pay attention to the clip inside the sequence, because what happens is you'll see that now the clip goes like this, right? Because we've slowed it down by 50%, so now it's twice as long, right? So if I were to expand back out, you can see the clip is twice as long. By the way, common thing that everybody asks me, how come the audio didn't move along with it? Because it didn't. If you want the audio to do that, best way really to do that is in Audition. There's better stretching engine in there. Frankly, for the most part, in general, you don't want that audio. That's just kind of the way it is. And if you're going to be using sound design for a film and such, yes, maybe you'll be able to use some of that original audio if it's super clean. But even when they slow-mo or slow down audio based, like think of a fight scene or something, if you were to slow it down 50%, that means you're going to drop the pitch by an octave or so. It's not going to sound very good. So we use sound design to make it sound the way we think it should hear, not how it would actually hear. But you can do this simultaneously in Audition if that's something you want to do, and you can send it back and forth to Premiere very easily. All right, so by default, we just did one simple slow motion operation, and if we just hit play now, here's what we get, all right? So clearly, it's moving slower, all right? You can see kind of flapping a little bit. We're actually seeing a little bit of the motion blur. Kind of nice. It's a little stuttery, and I think of this as, you kind of can imagine, you sort of hear the frames like tick, 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 like clicking along if you're watching this on a film, on a projector or something. But it's okay. It looks good. It doesn't look bad. It's not smooth, right? And that's really because, again, shot at 24, playing back at half speed, that's kind of the result you're going to get. However, you have some options here. So if we right-click or control-click on our clip and go into speed duration, here is where now you can see that you will have 3 different time interpolation options, which will affect the playback result of your slow motion, or whether if you sped it up as well. So the default one is frame sampling. All right. Now this one, honestly, for my money, this tends to look best in general. That's why it's the default. If you don't do anything and you just use it as it is, it looks okay. It looks good. You see this a lot in YouTube videos. Again, does it look like that unbelievable, crazy slow-mo? No, it wasn't shot at 240 frames per second. Frame sampling. Now, there's also frame blending. Let's go ahead and choose this method. I'll click OK on this. Now, frame blending can actually sometimes, in some instances, work better, make it look a little more creamy smooth. But right away, you can see when I applied the frame blend, did you see what happened here? See how the shot actually got a little blurry? That's because it is, in fact, blending frames. And as I scrub through this slowly, you can almost see how it's overlaying frames to kind of extend the duration. So if we play this one back, it maybe looks a little less stuttery, but now you're almost getting a trajectory of the movement. Now, that can be used to effect, if you so desire. For me, it's like, it's not great slow-mo. It looks sort of artifacted and strange. Now, if we were to actually render the work area here, that may in fact look a little bit better, but by nature, you're blending frames. So you're always going to get that kind of smeared trajectory style look. Maybe in some cases not. I shouldn't say always, but that's kind of the nature of how frame blending works for slow motion here. For me, I'd rather use frame sampling. It's a little smoother. And if you render these, the results will in fact look a little better. Now you'll see that I am in fact playing this back at full res. Okay, so by performing the render, it'll get a little smoother. And since this is short, let me just go ahead and do it. All right. And now it's rendered. And you can see, like, it's okay, right? It just, I don't love it. Let's maybe change it to back to frame sampling, and we'll render and see how that one looks, okay? Yeah, so this one, I mean, it looks okay, but again, I almost feel like I can see those frames. It's almost as if like we've dropped frames just to kind of slow it down, so we're seeing every other. It feels kind of a little stuttery to me. So now we can choose the third option. And the third option here is something called optical flow. Now, this is something which, again, we've had for quite a few versions already. You will, in fact, have to render this to see it in its glory in real time, which I may have already done, it looks like. Let me make sure I've got it on optical flow. I do. I'm just going to re-render this. Let's delete the render files. Yes. Let's do it again. All right. Now, optical flow is using vector-based, pixel-based motion. This is something similar to pixel motion in After Effects, where it is effectively redrawing pixel to pixel versus overlaying frames. So in theory, in some cases, in many cases, this will give you more organic, fluid-looking slow motion right away. And as you can see now, take a look. Look at the ears. Here, I'll even go full screen on this. You can see now they are sort of, the weight, the floppiness is very natural. It doesn't have that stuttery look. It doesn't have that weird overlaid kind of blended look. It just kind of works, right? Pretty sick. So for most things, not all things, optical flow can also have some very bizarre kind of artifacty returns as well. That's why we have 3 methods we allow you to choose. This one, to me, this looks great. This actually looks like legit slow-mo, and if you said, hey, I recorded this at 60 and slowed it down to 30, I'd believe you, because it looks pretty good. You can see as the ears flop, like there's all this weight, and you're not seeing that kind of stuttery kind of feeling. So that's optical flow. So again, we did just a simple drop the speed for the whole clip, right-click, control-click, speed duration, and choose your method. Frame sampling and blending, you can probably get away with not rendering them in the timeline, although you certainly can if you want to. Optical flow, to be able to see the result, you have to render it, but it's worth it. And again, it'll generally, most of the time, give you a smoother result. It's entirely dependent on the kind of content you're shooting. Stuff with water, I can tell you, we've got like a lot of moving water particles and things. Sometimes optical flow can get a little weird, a little smeary with some of that. It may not be as ideal. That's not to say that it doesn't work with water. It's just to say that you've got different methods. Give them all a try. It will behoove you to give them a look, all right? And or do a small section if you're concerned, all right? Okay, so that's optical flow. Now, let me go ahead and let's bring this back up to 100%, because one of the questions that people were asking was, okay, what about if I want to ramp the speed? So I want it to start in real time, and then maybe as our buffalo is smiling here, I want to now sort of slightly gradually slow down, let him turn his head, flop his ears, and then go back up to real time or go faster than real time. This is what you see in movies and commercials and YouTube videos all the time. That's kind of the nature of slow-mo now, right? So how do you do that? All right. Well, once again, now, instead of just grabbing our envelope here inside of the video clip, we're going to place some keyframes in there. So I'm going to hold down my Command key, and I'm going to drop a keyframe in here. And when I do that, now what you see is this little weird blue icon. All right, stick with me for a second. So again, we're going to start playing in real time, and then we want to slow down. So what do we want to slow down to? Well, let's do like that 50% again. So now, as I grab this line, let's go down, we'll go just below 50%. All right? Now what you'll see is we have an icon here that can effectively be pulled apart. So you get these 2 little handles at the side, and if you click on them and they turn blue to select them, you'll even see that you have a little Bezier ramp right here. So you can more accurately adjust the ramp of the speed, okay? Now in this view here, it's a little hard to work. So this might be where you may feel more comfortable doing something like this, perhaps inside the timeline here, or adjusting those the duration of how long it takes to ramp into speed, okay? So we're doing this right on clip, just like that, very easily. So we start for approximately 20 frames in real time, slow down, okay, for a couple of flicks. Let's go ahead and add another keyframe here. All right, now we want to speed it back up. All right, so maybe we'll go into 109%. The clip gets shorter. And again, do we want it immediate, like slow-mo, immediately back to fast, or do we sort of want it to ramp again? Click on these keyframes here, or click on the icons, I should say. Now adjust the ramp. Zoom in so you can see what I'm doing here. All right, so you can see how this is working. All right, drag this over perhaps, like this, and adjust the actual ramp angle here. Something like that. Notice I've created this little smiley face. Again, nothing particularly fancy here, but this will give you an idea. This is a fairly short clip as well. And let's just render it so we can see it at its best. Let's render entire work area. All right. Bedroom studio from South Africa. How are you? Showcasing some content from your country. The most lovely South Africa. I miss it. We used to go a couple times a year. All right, into slow-mo, and ramp back up to real time. Real time, slow-mo, slow turn, ramp back up to real time. Real time, slow-mo. All right, I don't have to keep narrating this. And now, as you see, again, we're still using optical flow. Notice when it goes into that slow motion, those ears, it looks very organic. So you really got to give those different methods a try, all right? And that's effectively it. That's all you need to know about time remapping in Premiere. Now, again, I've got a couple of different flavors just to kind of show you how smooth natively the content can be. So let's go to like the opposite extreme, 10 times as many frames, all right? So here's a piece, little shot of a kid playing basketball here, shooting a hoop at 240 frames per second. This was shot with the iPhone. So here's the native clip. All right, little layup action right there. Okay. Just like that. All right. Now, this was shot natively at 240 frames per second. Okay, here's our clip. You can see it right here. Premiere is actually interpreting this as 240.51. Thank you, iPhone. I think it's a slight variance in the frame right there. All right. So again, we can do a ramp if we want. So maybe we'll play a couple seconds. Throws it up, maybe kind of right as it begins to hit the ground. That's where we're going to create the ramp. So once again, I'll right-click on the effects badge, go into time remapping, speed, set a keyframe, drop this down. Let's go down to like 10%. Okay. Again, clip gets very long. Now I don't even want a ramp. I just want it to immediately go into slow motion, right? Which is also a very common effect that you see. All right. Right there. And then maybe once it's up in the air, now we'll speed it back up to real time. Like that. Remember, of course, that we can also just take those little handles and we can drag it out even further. All right. Something like that. Okay. So let's go ahead and render this. Oh, let me make sure. Not that it should actually matter because this is 240, but I'm in frame sampling. So yeah, we'll just leave it natively here. Just go ahead and render this. I don't have to render for frame sampling and frame blending. I want you to be able to see it sort of really as creamy smooth as it is. So a quick render here is better. You don't need to do this in your own sequence or timeline. All right, so there it is. And, you know, if you look at the hair and everything, I mean, that's the difference between shooting with, 240 frames versus 24, is that every piece of the motion here is just really, really smooth. Me holding the phone is a little jerky. All right. Back to real time. All right. Okay, so 240. Really smooth, really slow, really intense. Okay, especially as you're going up here. Like you can just really... More frames, better the slow-mo. Less work Premiere has to do. Here's another one. This was 60 frames shot on an old 7D. So this is actually 720p footage. Again, same thing here. Let's just go time remapping speed. Let's drop this down below to around 40%. Now this is just natively still with frame sampling. Okay. Now this particular one, even though I'm pulling focus here and it's taking me a bit, it actually looks pretty good. I'm not seeing any, it's maybe slightly skippy stuttery, but it looks pretty smooth to me. Let's go into speed duration. Let's change this to optical flow. Let's see how this looks. Let's just render this real fast. All right. Oh dang, Uniflix Media. Yeah. Funny Funda, how are you? Sweet Corn Kid, hey, good evening from England. All right. And I'm not watching Google I/O. That's right. I'll catch the replay. I actually set my my reminder to do that and went, oh, I got to go live now. Okay, so here's optical flow. Again, it just something in the weight. I thought frame sampling looked really good. Optical flow, it's so smooth. It's so smooth. Will it always be that smooth? No. No. You gotta just try, right? 3 different methods. Give them each a try, okay? They will produce different results for you. But ultimately, it's as easy as right-clicking on the badge here, control-click, time remapping, speed, right? If you just want to do a single global speed change, drop it down, you'll see the clip elongate in the timeline. Similarly, if you want to do, like a hyperlapse of your footage and speed everything up, you just raise it. So here, let me, these clips are all kind of short. Let's see, this one. This is a glissando. Okay, so here, I'm going to just place this in a timeline real quickly. All right. All right, let's mute that. So similarly, let's just say instead of slowing this one down, I want to speed this up. So let's speed it up, 200%. All right. Like this, same thing. Okay. It's no different. And you can have any number of ramps as you're performing this, right? Now this being 240 as well, there's so many frames there. The frame method, it's a little less consequential here in terms of your end result, but play with those as well. It can produce different outputs, so it's worth trying. It's worth investigating, all right? So that is slow motion and time remapping in Premiere Pro. Simple, easy, right in the timeline, works with any kind of footage. Someone asked me recently on Twitter, well, what if I have like, 12 frame footage? How does it do with that? If you've got really low frame rate footage, or maybe you've just got older, lower bit rate, old H.264 codec content that's 23 or 30 frames, and it's not really working, first, I'd recommend After Effects using pixel motion. It's going to take a while to render that content, but it's darn good. And again, it's pixel to pixel. It's not frame sampling, so it's just natively going to look better. If you're really trying to go extreme, super, super slow-mo with, again, maybe you don't have 240 frame footage. Maybe it's all 24 or whatever. There is a plugin called Twixtor, Twixtor for After Effects, which I've used many times. It's been around forever. It's nothing new, but it's amazing. And that's all it does is time remapping. So, or what it's designed to do, I should say. So you can do extreme. There still is. You can find it on Vimeo and YouTube. There's some skateboarding video of 1,000 frames per second slow-mo. It was shot at 30 or something, but they did this, slowed it down, 1,000 times, whatever it is, whatever that percentage is. Not 1,000 times. Slowed it down a lot. And it's unreal. That'd be like 5 times slow-mo. It's unreal. It's just incredible. A lot of render time, A lot of tweaking, a lot of individual parameters you need to set to get it right, but there are ways to do that. So that's a third-party plugin, Twixtor, highly recommend that. Outside of that, do it natively in the Premiere Pro timeline. If Premiere Pro is not doing it for you, you can always send it over to After Effects and give it a shot there. All right, so let's just look at some of our comments here. All right, Nisikan, Maurice, what's up? Keith Owen, Andre Schwarzkopf, Stephanie Reed, how are you? Danielle Poletto, ciao, nice to see you. Ronaldo, you are very kind, sir, thank you. Hey, what's up, Joe B, how's it going? Leighton Gilbert, all right. Hello to our friends from Qatar. Dawn Hubs, you're very kind, thank you. All right, Thomas Benner. Okay, looking for some questions. Rob, oh, and yes, of course, you'll be able to watch the replay. Eden from Israel, Stanley from Nigeria. Tyler, behoove. And Nell Henning, how are you? Manik from Bangladesh, hello. All right. Justin Brown. So yeah, that's a great question. Will Adobe ever give us time remapping over 1,000%? This is where, I mean, I don't have an answer for that, but this is where plugins like Twixtor exist. I can only venture a guess that, you know, we set that limit because that's kind of the limitation of what our algorithms or tech really will give you best results for. That's why Twixtor lets you go well beyond. But that's all they do, all right? Bruce Johnson, so the Bezier handles like an easy ease. Yes, it is effectively like it's a time interpolation effectively, yes. All right. Let's see, Robin Feldman. What about when you try to add motion keyframes to a time-ramped clip? The time ramp always screw with how I want the motion to play out. You mean if you add things like rotation or scale? I'm not exactly sure what you mean, Robin. Give me some more info. Eric Statler, can you tell me the formula to interpret 60 to 23976? It's, yeah, what the percentage is. Yeah, well, even easier, and here, that's actually a great question and something that I was going to, that's a little more advanced, but I'll just go ahead and show it. You also have the ability to simply tell Premiere, or After Effects, to interpret footage playing back at a particular frame rate. So if we were to take this, here's a shot of me blow drying my hair, which if you take a look, you can see it's 240 frames per second. I can right click, go into modify and choose interpret footage. And I can say, all right, for this 240 frames, play this back, assume a frame rate of 24 frames per second, click OK on that. So if I were to drag this into a 24 FPS timeline, all right, it looks like, yeah, this was old iPhone, so it's 720p. But now what you're seeing is it's now interpreting this as 24. So you're getting the super slow-mo without having to do any ramps or keyframing or anything inside of this 24 frame timeline. So yeah, I mean, you can just do the algebraic equation to get whatever the exact percentage is for 2398, or you can simply use the interpret as well, okay? It's a strange look on my face there. All right, let's get off of that. All right, back to some questions here. So we can create, hi, I hit enter to auto render the in out. Yep, saves a few clicks. Hello, Kulpreet, how are you? Faux My Life, what is up? Business Film TV from Denmark, hi there. Okay. Hello, Sprimera, present from Moscow. Nice to see you. Brent Garrett, representing Iowa. Nice. Ahmed, I want to color grade time remapped footage or interpreted footage in DaVinci Resolve through XML, but in DaVinci Resolve, those footages play in real time. Yeah, it's, you know, it's not going to retain the time remapping, so you'd need to render the time remapped clip out and then do the XML. I'd be very shocked if DaVinci read our time remapping keyframes. David Saunders, what's up? Maxime, hello. Slavic, hello, thank you. Sanjoy, nice to see you. Eric, perfect. Okay, thank you very much. All right, and we're just going to quickly check over. All right, Rivaldi from Indonesia. Hey, Samantha, how are you? Very nice. Yes, so again, you'll be able to check the replays here. Want to emphasize again, if you want the creamiest, smoothest slow-mo for very many applications, shoot it at higher frame rates, right? Almost every camera now shoots at a minimum 60, even for 1080p. Again, iPhone will do 240 at 1080, which is pretty sick. And you saw that was that basketball footage there. So you have tons of options here. Don't always forget to right-click, control-click on your clips in Premiere and change the time interpolation method. So you've got frame sampling, probably if you have to go default, that would be the best one. Frame blending, it's okay, but you're always going to get that slightly overlaid kind of look. Remember to render to really see what it looks like. And then optical flow, which can really produce some Adobe Magic-like slow motion effects. So you'll definitely want to check that out. Oh, glad you're well, Sam. Thank you as always for watching. Love the support. All right, everyone, that's it for me. Oh, and hey, Video Game DJ, what is happening? So, all right, with that, I'm going to send you on your way. Have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you are in the world. And we'll see you again tomorrow. And tomorrow, I think, we're going to be doing some audio. So we'll be back here on the Premiere Pro Facebook page. Have a good one, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.